Welcome to KOT Aero, knowledge on tap for the aerospace industry. Subscribe for free at kotaero.com. All right, let's dive into it.
Ever find yourself on a flight looking at that airplane seat and thinking, what's the deal with this thing?
Yeah.
Well, buckle up because today we are taking a deep dive into the world of airplane safety regulations.
Oh, why?
Specifically, what makes a seat safe for an emergency landing.
Which hopefully never happens.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Right.
But they have to be ready.
They do.
And it's interesting how much actually goes into that.
It really is fascinating.
And we're going straight to the source for this deep dive.
Okay.
The Electronic Code of Federal Regulations.
Right.
Section 25.562 to be exact.
Okay.
Which is all about emergency landing dynamic conditions.
Wow.
Straight from the FAA's rule book.
The digital rule book.
So that's wild.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, no kidding.
And these regulations are surprisingly specific.
They really are.
And, they focus on the most likely survivable emergency landing situations.
So, what kind of stuff are we talking about here?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Like a 35 foot per second drop at a 30-degree angle. So almost like if the plane is, stumbling out of the sky.
Yeah, basically.
Oh.
Okay, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But I can at least sort of picture it.
Right.
Okay.
Well, they also test for sudden deceleration.
Okay.
Like slamming on the brakes in midair.
Oh, wow.
44 feet per second with some sideways yaw.
So how do they even test for this?
Yeah.
I mean, are they intentionally crashing planes?
That would be a little extreme.
Yeah.
They use simulations.
Oh, okay.
They have these full-scale replicas of airplane seats and cabins.
Huh.
And they put them through these extreme conditions.
So crash test dummies.
Yeah.
Strapped in.
Exactly.
Plummeting to the earth.
Pretty much.
Wow.
But these aren't the dummies you're thinking of.
What do you mean?
These are high-tech 170-pound dummies.
Oh, wow.
They're completely rigged with sensors.
To measure what?
Everything.
Everything.
Head compression,
Uh-huh.
femur compression,
Oh, my gosh.
even whether your seatbelt stays put.
They really thought of everything.
They really did.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, they use these dummies to really measure those forces involved.
That's amazing.
It's incredible how they simulate that.
Yeah.
But, it's not just about the impact itself.
What's then?
It's about the forces at play during the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, they use something called the head injury criterion.
The what?
Head injury criterion.
Okay.
Or HIC.
Wait, HIC?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they talk about with cars?
You're exactly right.
Really?
You hear that in car commercials all the time.
I do.
They use that in aviation, too.
What's the connection?
It's all about measuring the likelihood of a head injury.
So how does it work?
Well, most people think it's just about how hard your head gets hit,
Right.
but it's actually a little more complicated than that.
Okay.
HIC takes into account both the force of the impact
Uh-huh.
and how long that force lasts.
So a quick, sharp impact could be just as bad as a longer one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the FAA is very specific. Airplane seats got to meet a certain HIC value in those crash tests.
So the impact can't be over a certain amount.
Yeah, they measure that impact on the dummy's head,
Right.
and it can't go over a certain limit,
So it's all about making sure nobody gets a head injury.
even in those crazy landings.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is wild.
All this stuff we just take for granted.
I know, right?
You just assume your seat is going to protect you.
And it will.
But there's a lot that goes into that.
And what's fascinating is that it's always changing.
You mean they're always updating the regulations?
Always?
Based on what?
They look at real-world incidents.
Wow.
They're always analyzing data.
So they can make things even safer.
Exactly.
It's like a continuous loop.
Totally.
Testing, analyzing, improving.
Exactly.
And learning from every single emergency landing.
Even the ones that have good outcomes.
That's reassuring.
It is.
But it makes you wonder, are there other things they have to think about? What about luggage compartments flying open?
Oh, yeah.
Or the oxygen masks?
Those are all part of the safety regulations, too.
So it's not just about the seat, it's about the whole cabin.
Every single thing has to meet these super strict rules.
Wow.
But going back to the seats for a second,
Okay.
there's another thing I find pretty interesting.
What's that?
So it's not just about protecting you in the seat.
Right.
It's also about what happens after.
You mean getting out?
Yeah, the evacuation.
Oh, right.
They make sure the seats don't get in the way.
That makes sense.
You don't want to survive a crash just to be stuck in your seat.
That would be the worst.
That's why they make sure the seats won't trap you.
Wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's a scary thought.
It is.
They've really thought of everything.
And they even look at how the seats change shape during the crash.
You mean how they deform?
Yeah.
Right. So, like, imagine a row of seats all bending out of shape.
Yeah.
They make sure they don't hurt anyone else when that happens.
Yeah. So they're trying to keep the seats from becoming dangerous themselves.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing risk.
Makes sense?
And making flying as safe as possible.
That's good to know.
It is.
But with all this talk about safety and testing, does that mean it's like less safe than other ways to travel?
Not at all.
Really?
It's actually the opposite.
Huh.
Flying is statistically one of the safest ways to travel.
Because of all these regulations?
Exactly.
Wow.
They're always reviewing and updating these standards.
So the next time I'm on a plane complaining about my seat.
You'll be thanking those engineers.
And their crash test dummies.
Right.
It really is amazing how much goes into making those seats safe.
Yeah, we just see them as something to sit on.
But they're more like safety capsules.
Carefully designed to protect us.
Exactly.
So we've talked a lot about these regulations.
We have.
And it's been pretty fascinating.
It has.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
Are there any parts of this that you found particularly interesting or surprising? It's really amazing how it all works together.
What do you mean?
Well, it's easy to just think about the crash tests.
Right.
But every single rule, every little detail,
Yeah.
it's all connected.
To keep people safe.
Exactly like a big system.
Like all the different parts of an airplane has to work together.
Yeah. And they're constantly checking everything.
To make sure it's all up to date.
Right. They're always learning new things.
So it's really a continuous process.
Exactly. It never really ends.
Wow. I never would have thought about it that way.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is.
All this behind-the-scenes stuff.
They keep us safe.
Exactly.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's amazing how much goes into those seats.
Right.
And I learned a lot about safety regulations today.
Me too.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.